Hey, what's up guys? It's Hodge and welcome to episode 3 of the HojCast. And today is an episode that I waited a few episodes to do, and honestly I'm doing it today because I just felt like today was the right day. And so today I want to spend some time talking about games you're supposed to love, but don't love. I have some of those. One of them I'm going to talk about today. You will probably, as history has told me, will disagree with me, and that's fine. But we all have that one game that everyone says you have to play, you gotta play, it's the best thing ever, it's so good, it's so this, it's so that, and when you fire it up and you try it out, you just don't love it. And that game, for me, is, and I'm hesitating and I'm pausing because I know the backlash that happens every time I mention that I don't like this game. And that game is The Last of Us. I just don't love it. I don't. I wish I did. I really want to love it. But I don't. And so I'll kind of tell you the story of how I come to get this game and how because I've played it. I've tried to love it. I just want to love it, but I can't. So Last of Us comes out. Everybody and their grandma gets it. Everybody and their grandma loves it. I did not get it at the time, but I wanted it. And I just never got around to it. I was playing other things. I got busy. Fast forward to when I worked with Sony for a little bit, and I was at, I believe it was PAX Prime, and I went to the PlayStation podcast or blogcast that they recorded live there, and actually won it. Won a copy of The Last of Us for my PS3. This is pre-PS4, right? And so I got it on the PS3, and I went home and I started to play it, and I instantly was gripped by the first few minutes of that game. If you've never played it, there are good elements of this game, and it probably is a good game. I just, for some reason, can't get into it. So the first couple of minutes happen in this game, and I'm floored. It's gripping, it's emotional, it's moving, and I just loved it. And so I was like, okay, cool, this is really good, and I was really excited to play it. And actually what I found is that I love all the story elements, and I love those sorts of things, but what I don't like is the gameplay. I just hate it. I hate it. I remember getting to one point in the game, and it was like you had to walk through this underground, I don't know if it was a subway station or what, but I had to walk through this underground space. And if you haven't played it, which I really don't know many people that haven't, but there are the clickers that will come out of nowhere and attack you. And if you have a shiv, then you're good. If you don't have a shiv, you are pretty much out of luck. And I found myself very often without shivs, and very often unable to get the upper hand, and very often surrounded by clickers and dying and dying and dying and dying and dying and dying. And I said it that many times and with that sort of attitude, because ultimately that's what pushed me away from the game. There's a lot of problems that come with that for me. On one hand, you go, well, am I just like the worst gamer ever? And that might be the case when it comes to this game. But I think specific play styles come down to it too. When you look at the way that you play a game, everyone does it a little bit differently. I know that when I play Destiny with a bunch of my friends, that some of us are kind of hang back and shoot very carefully. Some of us are very run and gun. And both of us can do those things well, as far as, like, I'm more of a stay back and shoot, and I have friends that are more of a run and gun. But what happens, and we get frustrated with each other because one of us is not playing the way the other one wants to play. And so that becomes a little confusing. In fact, just today, as I'm recording this episode, did a raid with some guys in Destiny, and there was some confusion over how we were going to do what we were going to do, and it was mostly came down to different play styles. And it took us a minute to get everything coordinated and together and get it right, just because people play games differently. But I think ultimately that was my problem with The Last of Us, is that I am not while in shooters like that, like first-person shooters, I am a kind of a stay-back-and-shoot kind of person. In that game, it was a little too much, had a little too much that I couldn't get from where, if I was kind of stuck in one area, I couldn't hit the things that I wanted to hit, and so I had to kind of sneak out, and I'm not good at sneaking, not at all. Just so bad at it. I'm so bad at it. And I couldn't do it. And so I struggle with talking about this because I've really caught a lot of flack for not liking this game. But I mean, it's okay to not all like the same games, right? I mean, I think what happens in our sort of game culture that we have now is a new game comes out. Number one, every YouTuber on the planet starts to play it. Number two, every person that can get their hands on it starts to play it. And there becomes a mentality of, this is a good game. And and I'm not saying, let me be careful to say, I'm not saying that Last of Us is a bad game. I'm saying I don't like it. I love the story. I would watch the heck out of somebody playing that game. And in fact, I have watched a little bit of people play it on YouTube because I enjoy the story. I would watch it as a movie. I just don't want to play it. There was not enough to move me from situation that I hated to situation that I didn't hate. There wasn't enough to move me. The other game that I had a similar experience with was Final Fantasy 13. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan from way back, guys. Like, I've been playing for a while. And 13 came out, and it was gorgeous. I was absolutely sure it was going to be very good. And I picked it up and I just hated it. And it wasn't turn-based, though I don't really like turn-based anymore, I've decided, which, you can argue about that at a later date, I guess. But, it was turn-based battle, and I wasn't in love with that. But more than anything, I hated how linear it was. I mean, every Final Fantasy game that I've played had stuff you could do and places to go over here and places to go over here, but 13, I mean, I explained 13 this way. It's like playing a game where you walk down a hallway, and then there's a boss battle, and then if you beat the boss, you continue to go down the hallway, and if you don't beat the boss, you start back, earlier on in the hallway, and you come back to the boss, and if you can't kill it, you just can't kill it. Maybe it's because of my cautious nature, but when I play RPG like Final Fantasy, I like to go out into the map, the overworld, and grind a little bit of XP. So I'm a little bit higher level than maybe I'm supposed to be. That's me, being a little cheap and being a little cautious. But that opportunity gone in Final Fantasy 13. And if you don't beat the boss, you just don't beat the boss until you finally get the right, combination of moves and get it together. And it wasn't fun for me. I would have watched the heck out of the story. I thought it was a good story. I thought it was gorgeous. I couldn't bring myself to care enough about the narrative to want to play the gameplay that got me to the narrative. And what baffles me about all of this, because I'm just as confused as maybe you are, because everything is going for The Last of Us. Everything pushes me to say, I would love that game. I love The Walking Dead. I love zombie stuff. I love survival-y things. Everything pushes me you would love that game. You would love that game. The storytelling is great. I mentioned that earlier, but for some reason, when I pick it up and I start playing it, the moving parts, the pieces of the puzzle, they don't click into place for me. And I'm baffled by it too. I mean, I don't know what it is other than gameplay. That's why when I talk about that, I brought that up because that's the only logical reason that I can think about. That would be why I would not like these games. But is it really that simple? Does it just come down to gameplay? And I really think it might. Because, I'm thinking of these two games, and now categorically a lot of people didn't like Final Fantasy 13, so I'm definitely not, alone on that. Though somehow that game got 2 sequels. But I think when I think about both of them, it comes down to a gameplay thing that ultimately turns me off to the narrative. Which makes me wonder about some of the narratives. Now, it doesn't with Last of Us, because Last of Us is a fantastic narrative. Final Fantasy, actually, is a fantastic narrative, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's got to come down to gameplay. This probably sounds super ranty and rambly, but it is, because I'm trying to think this out, because I want to love these things. Everyone around me says they're fantastic. Everyone I've talked to about them says they're great. And man, I just want to love it. I even bought, so I had it for PS3. I had Last of Us for PS3. And I got it again. I traded it in. And I got it again for PS4. And I was like, I'm gonna love it. I mean, I sat, guys, I unwrapped this game. I sat down in front of my television on the floor like a child because that's how I play the games. No, I don't always, but I did that day. I think my controller was dead or something. Anyway, started to play the game. I'm like psyching myself. I'm like, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. And I didn't. And I gave up. I officially gave up on The Last of Us. And maybe I should feel bad. I don't know. I don't know if I should. I know a lot of people love it, and I just don't. I don't know. I'm done. I'm done feeling bad about it. I just don't like The Last of Us. I just don't like Final Fantasy 13, and I think that's okay. I think it is, right? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But that's where I land. So I ask you, what are some games that you don't like? What are some things that people tell you you're supposed to love game-wise and you just don't? If you're watching on YouTube, let me know. And if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening on iTunes, you should check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/hojjoshMC. That's HojjoshMC. And I will see you guys next time. Leave also in the description some ideas of topics that you might want to hear about on the HojCast. And let me know how you're liking this length. Is this a little too long, a little too short? Where should I be here? I'm trying to gauge you guys. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.